It's 2 p.m. on Monday, September 15th, here in Korea, live from Seoul. I'm Laah Hyun-kyung. In the headlines on our newscast, South Korea's national security advisor currently in the U.S. says Seoul is examining ways to help Washington-led global efforts to fight Islamic State militants. And in domestic politics, rumors about the interim chief of the main opposition leaving the party spread amid criticisms that she mishandled the so-called ferry bill negotiations with the ruling party. And in sports, it's not Park Inbee or Pak Seri, but Kim Hyo-joo, who wins this year's Evian Championship in France. The teenage golfer is now the third youngest player to win a major LPGA competition. Our top story this afternoon, Korea's National Security Advisor Kim Kwan-jin is now in the U.S. to meet with his American counterpart Susan Rice. He says the two will talk about a wide range of issues, including helping Washington fight off threats from Islamic State militants. Here's our Park Ji-won with the top story.
Speaking upon his arrival in Washington for a 4-day trip for talks with U.S. officials, Kim Kwan-jin said Korea is looking at diverse ways, mostly in terms of humanitarian support, to help U.S.-led efforts to defeat Islamic State militants.
Korea has already provided some $1.2 million in aid for Iraqi refugees. I think Korea can look into giving some additional support.
When asked about the possibility of Korea joining in military action such as logistics support, Kim said the U.S. has yet to make an official request to Seoul. During his stay, Kim will meet with his American counterpart Susan Rice and other senior U.S. officials for discussions on a wide range of issues, including North Korea and the South Korea-U.S. alliance. Regarding the postponement of the transfer of wartime operation control from the U.S. to South Korea, Kim said talks will continue at an annual defense cooperation meeting set to be held next month in Washington. Seoul hopes to postpone the transfer by some 5 to 7 years from the currently set schedule of the end of 2015. When asked about the possibility of introducing the U.S. high-altitude missile defense system THAAD to South Korea, Kim said there have been no further discussions, nor had there been any agreement on the issue. Kim added the focus of his visit will be issues surrounding the Korean peninsula, including North Korea's nuclear and human rights issues, as well as American detainees in the north. Kim is scheduled to return to Seoul on Wednesday. Park Ji-won, Arirang News.
And moving on to the situation involving IS militants, the group has beheaded another Western captive, British national David Haines. He was in Syria to help people displaced by the months-long fighting in the region. Our Shin Se-min has more.
British Prime Minister David Cameron has promised justice for murdered aid worker David Haines. At a meeting of the government's Emergency Response Committee on Sunday, Cameron said his murderers, those belonging to the Islamic State, were the embodiment of evil and precisely why Britain and the world needed to destroy them.
They are killing and slaughtering thousands of people, Muslims, Christians, minorities across Iraq and Syria. They claim to do this in the name of Islam. That is nonsense. Islam is a religion of peace. They are not Muslims, they are monsters.
The beheading of the 44-year-old aid worker has increased the pressure on Cameron to counter the IS threat, this as they've threatened to take the life of another British national, Alan Henning. The international community is circling the wagons. Australian Prime Minister Tony Abbott pledged on Sunday to deploy 600 troops to the Middle East to aid the U.S.-led campaign against the terrorist group. He said the first set of 200 military personnel would arrive in the United Arab Emirates in the next couple of days. In response to the latest IS video release, U.S. President Barack Obama said America would stand shoulder to shoulder with England as part of the broad coalition of nations being formed to fight the militant group. Some 40 countries, including 10 Arab states, have so far offered their support in countering the threat. U.S. officials say that some of the Arab nations have even offered to join in airstrikes against Islamic State in Iraq and Syria. Shin Se-min, Arirang News.
Now, the 69th UN General Assembly is set to kick off on Tuesday in New York. On the sidelines of that event, a high-level meeting discussing North Korea's human rights violations will likely be held. Our Kim Hyo-joo has this report.
A renewed focus on North Korea's human rights situation is expected to heighten diplomatic tensions at the upcoming UN General Assembly. This as top diplomats from South Korea and the U.S. prepare to attend a high-level meeting on the North's human rights issue, scheduled to take place on the sidelines of the UN gathering. The meeting has been organized as a way to garner support for a UN General Assembly resolution on the issue. Pyongyang's human rights situation has received greater international attention this year following the release of a report by the UN Commission of Inquiry that accuses North Korea's leaders of widespread, systematic and gross human rights violations. South Korea's Foreign Minister Yoon Byung-se is almost certain to participate in the high-level talks, as is U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry, reflecting Washington's growing interest in the issue. Kerry said last month in his Asia policy speech that North Korea's prison camps must be shut down immediately. Kerry's attendance is likely to draw diplomats from other countries to participate. Meanwhile, North Korea appears to be making efforts to defend itself. The North's Foreign Minister Lee Soo-young is scheduled to give a speech at the General Assembly, which will mark North Korea's first ministerial address in 15 years. And on Saturday, Pyongyang released its own assessment of the human rights situation, claiming the rights of North Korean people are well protected under its socialist system. The report also said that Pyongyang is open to holding talks with any country at any time on the human rights situation in North Korea. Kim Min-ji, Arirang News.
In domestic politics, nothing's been confirmed, but the interim chief of the main opposition New Politics Alliance for Democracy may be on the verge of stepping down. If that happens, it will bring about even more disarray to the opposition, which has been missing a chairman figure for more than a month now. Our National Assembly correspondent Kim Hyo-joo has this report.
Park Young-sun of the New Politics Alliance for Democracy doesn't just appear to be thinking about stepping down as interim chief. There are speculations she may even quit the party altogether. It comes amid pressure from within the main opposition bloc to step down both as the chief of its emergency committee and as its floor leader.
We've been urging floor leader Park Young-sun for her voluntary resignation. If she does not step down, we will have to put some pressure on her to do so.
The contention stems from Park's handling of a special bill that would set up an investigation into April's ferry disaster. Park on two separate occasions reached agreements with the ruling Saenuri Party on the legislation, but both times the compromise was met with fierce criticism from the victims' families and from within her own party. Park looked to step aside last week by appointing two co-chairmen to lead its emergency committee, but the proposal was quickly batted down by senior party members, who objected to those who were nominated. With Park on the outs, veteran lawmakers with the opposition party have already begun thinking about who her replacement should be and call for someone who is more moderate. Whoever that next leader is will walk into a party torn apart by factionalism and infighting. The party also remains at odds with the ruling Saenuri Party at the National Assembly, which has passed 0 bills in recent months because of the ferry bill standoff. Kim Hyo-joo, Arirang News.
In the year 2012 for Korea was at its record high.
All of the day's important events close to home and around the world. Join Laah Hyun-kyung live from Seoul.
Shopping market thinks the true meaning of creation shines through. Korea's import prices dropped for the 24th straight month in August, mainly due to falling international oil prices coupled with the strong Korean currency. The Bank of Korea says the import price index dropped 0.8% from July to nearly 94.2. That's the lowest level in more than 4 years. Dubai oil fell nearly 4% last month from the previous month, and the Korean won strengthened 0.5% against the greenback. Export prices, on the other hand, rose 0.1% in August from July. Now, the number of visitors from China grows exponentially every year, and not surprisingly, the spending cloud of Chinese tourists to Korea is having an overwhelming positive effect on the stock prices of Korean firms in the tourism sector. Our Hwang Ji-hye has the details.
In Seoul's bustling shopping district of Myeongdong, it's very easy to find Chinese tourists, and the ever-increasing number of visitors from China is driving strong gains in tourism-related shares. According to the Korea Exchange, the stock prices of 31 firms listed on the local bourse whose brands are popular among the Chinese have risen 51% on average since the end of last year. Contrast that against the 1.1% gain the benchmark Kospi posted over the same period. Because of this, many Korean businesses that used to rely on domestic consumption by Koreans are eyeing these high-spending customers from across the West Sea. In general, Chinese people are much wealthier than they used to be. China's gross national income per capita last year stood at over $6,700. That's more than 5 times higher than in 2003. And due to the popularity of Korean pop culture in China, experts say the country's spending power has a massive impact on Korean companies, particularly those in the entertainment, cosmetic, and clothing industries. And with more Chinese tourists forecast to visit Korea during the upcoming Chinese holiday season early next month and the Incheon Asian Games that kick off this week, expectations are high that they'll give domestic demand in Korea a much-needed boost. Hwang Ji-hye, Arirang News.
And in sports, the final LPGA major of the season, the 2014 Evian Championship, came to an end in France on Sunday local time, and Korean teenage golfer Kim Hyo-joo took home the top prize in dramatic fashion. Arirang's sportscaster S.J. Lee reports.
19-year-old Kim Hyo-joo is a star in the KLPGA, but after this weekend, she's a superstar in the one that counts, the LPGA. The 20th-ranked Korean started off the event shooting an amazing 10 under 61 in the first round and went into the final round in the lead. Fellow Koreans Chang Ha-na, Heo Mi-jung, and Chen Ha-yeon piled the pressure on Kim, but it was Australia's Kerry Webb, a 7-time major winner, who stormed through in the back nine to take a one-stroke lead going into the 18th hole. But the Korean teenager kept her composure and birdied a tough putt to put her tied for the lead. The pressure was too much for the 39-year-old Webb, who would bogey on the final hole, giving Kim the season's final tour major.
I'm very happy I won. When I finished, I felt out of this world. I felt terrible when I bogeyed on the in-course par 3, but I was able to birdie on what I thought was the toughest hole, so I feel great.
It might be her very first LPGA Tour major win, but given this performance, we'll be hearing a lot more about Kim Hyo-joo in the years to come. S.J. Lee, Arirang News.
Despite some controversies, 3D printing has been acknowledged as one of the key technologies of the 21st century. Korea is one of many countries looking to expand the scope of the 3D industry. Our Kim Ji-yeon has this week's Industry Insight.
In the beginning, it was the cool factor that early adopters recognized from 3D printing. And the early players like Stratasys, 3D Systems, and Shapeways from the US and Japan's DMN were quick to cater to hobbyists and industrialists with an eye on the future. In Korea, those first in line for a 3D printer include researchers in the medical sector looking for innovative ways to treat patients. For example, a local hospital, St. Mary's Hospital of Catholic University, successfully performed an artificial joint treatment earlier this year by using 3D printing to make customized prototypes. And the hospital says it wants to try to expand the technology to make functioning organs in the future. Other large hospitals are racing to patent the three-dimensional printing technology that will be used for skull or dental implants and drug delivery agents in the human body. But despite these promising signs, the 3D printing technology is currently in its infant stages in Korea. Barriers like price and usability are preventing mainstream users from getting their hands on the technology. But some 3D printing companies are trying to change that. Take a look. 3D printers aren't as commonly used by average consumers in Korea because of its huge price tag. The hardware sells at around $2,000. In order to break down such economic barriers, 3D developer founded by its parent trading company Mide International Trade launched a leasing and rental program for the public.
We want to lead more people can use the 3D printing technology because we believe this is a very good thing. It is very good for the industrial efficiency. Also, it can help people to get their own customized product. Also, they can change people's lifestyle. So, in order to expand this new technology, we were trying to watch what is the really barrier of the market.
With monthly rental fees set at $35 and an option to buy at the end of a 2-year contract period, the company says its printer leasing program creates easier accessibility for customers to try the new hardware. The program also assures the machine will continue to operate properly even after its purchase. The company says its customers are not limited to a specific group, but includes manufacturers of toys and jewelry, as well as R&D centers, universities, and ordinary people.
Yeah, for example, we can try to make my own shoes. Maybe somebody can scan my feet, and then maybe we can design. We can change some design to make my own shoes, and then I can just print it.
Another company is also trying to widen the use of 3D printers by making the hardware more easy to use for the average customer. Open Creators, the country's first startup company in the 3D printing industry, says its printer, called the Almond, is by far the easiest printer to use yet. For most people, it takes just the afternoon to get it up and running.
Almond has an auto-leveling function. It checks 9 points of a surface and adjusts the appropriate slope of the bed, eliminating the need for the user to manually attach any nuts and bolts. Also, there's a cooling pen that brings down the temperature of the melted material, which improves printing quality.
And for consumers who are worried about looks, the Almond has both substance and style. It was awarded some of the world's most renowned design awards, including the Red Dot and Idea Awards. Open Creators says it's working toward a vision to try to create an atmosphere, a culture where every household has a 3D printer in their homes, equivalent to appliances like TVs and vacuum cleaners. The company offers a weekly workshop open to anyone who wants to maximize the utility of its product.
These efforts by the 3D printing industry are expected to open up the technology to the mainstream and pave the way for more specialized applications to become a part of our everyday lives. Kim Hyo-joo, Arirang News.
This time of the year, every year, artists and fans of art from around the world get excited over the Gwangju Biennale. The world-renowned exhibit opened its doors to the public last week, and our Im Yoon-hee joins me with a look at what this year's event has to offer. Good afternoon, Yoon-hee.
Good afternoon. Right, so the 10th Gwangju Biennale has finally opened. It's upon us. People are very excited. One of the biggest art gatherings here in Asia. And so the 10th one has finally opened, and this year's theme is burning down the house. And as you'll see, some of the artists are on fire with ideas. Take a look.
It's a rather odd scene, a jumble of horses, soldiers, and flags. American artist Edward Kienholz was a foundational installation artist, and this is one of his rare works, created with his wife Nancy. It's just one of the many meaningful and unique pieces to this year's Gwangju Biennale.
Even though these works address political talk, spiritual talk, and social talk, they also satirize politics.
The 10th edition of one of Korea's largest art gatherings has brought in some of the most abstract creations from all over the world, including Pakistani artist Huma Mulji's work that addresses the modern-day concerns of Pakistan. They all fall under the theme of burning down the house, which incorporates the idea of burning and transformation, and the process of finding hope amidst the ashes. And this year, artists utilize a range of different mediums and techniques to display this process of destruction and rebuilding.
I was looking for a way to somehow unify the exhibition, and they proposed this wallpaper which has a pixelated smoke motif. It was an image that they downloaded from the internet.
And though the artworks are united under a theme, each displays a flair of creativity and the extraordinary, as the Gwangju Biennale will remain open until next month for people from all over the country and the world to see what this year's artists have in store.
So this is, with no doubt, one of the largest art gatherings of the year. So how is it being received?
Right, so this year they had very excited, a lot of expectation for this year. They actually saw over 100 artists, over 400 different works. And so every year they say they expect about 500,000 spectators or guests. And so this year they also do expect the same. So 500,000 people are going to be going out there to see. And so it hasn't been open for that long, only about a week now. So they're still expecting quite a few people.
Okay. Now let's bring our focus back to Seoul. You said there was another special exhibition that you wanted to introduce us to.
Right, so the Gwangju Biennale has been casting a shadow amongst the others, but there is another exhibition here, and so it's taking place at the Leum Samsung Museum of Art, and they're also celebrating their 10th year anniversary, so another special event. So they've put together a collection of artwork, and I think you'll see that they really show with this artwork how art can put a bridge over anything, so take a look.
Historical treasures from the Joseon Kingdom. They serve as both artifacts as well as works of art. Traditional Korean artwork includes anything from paintings to the art of the beautiful moon jar. This one flawlessly created in the 18th century, displaying a perfectly rounded, almost seamless creation. And here, one artist has recreated the Korean peninsula and the millions of lives that together make up the country they call home. Another artist captures somber feelings of depression and tragedy on the canvas, while other world-renowned artists show illusion and a sense of the contemporary through their use of various different mediums in this unique collection of both international and Korean artists.
What would have otherwise seemed like impossible communication through these artworks, international communication has been opened.
But here, art isn't just for the eyes. One artist incorporates the audience in a performance-type creation, while other artists create an experience for the audience to walk through. From Korean to foreign artists, from the contemporary to the classic to the traditional, art is a bridge through both time and space.
So usually an exhibition has a main theme, but this one seems to stretch beyond any borders.
It really does want to, like the name implies, beyond and between. They really want to be all-inclusive, and its collection actually is a very special one because it's actually created by the chairman of Samsung, Lee Gun-hee, and he actually put together his artwork over a year. He has a love for art, and so he's actually sharing this collection with people. And so this museum, EU Museum, is very special. I don't know if you've been there, but it really it just really wants to bring in all different types of artwork from both here and abroad together, and so it really does have a good explanation, a really good showing of different types of art.
Right, and you were also telling me that the exhibition also offers lectures to the visitors.
Exactly. So it's not just to look at, they also want to teach about the different types of art that they have there, and so they're offering different talks and lectures from various either artists or curators, both from Korea and around the world, and so you really do get a unique opportunity to go both look at the art and also learn about what's behind the art, the story behind behind it, what's going on. And so a very good place to go. Check out our, good way to spend your day.
And the schedule for those lectures can be found
online. Yes, it does go through November, and so they are
almost like a
special
seminar.
lectures. Almost like a seminar, yeah. But don't think of it like class. Didn't like class, but this is a very good time to go learn about different art.
All right. Thank you very much, Jeannie, for today's
Always
story.
a pleasure.
Good afternoon, I'm Michelle Park here with the latest weather forecast. We can expect cool fall weather today nationwide, and daytime highs will stay in the low to the high 20s, which is slightly lower compared to the last couple of days. And starting Wednesday, we can expect those temperatures to really drop into the mid-20s. And we also have rain in the forecast today. There will be drizzles in the central region and both all the provinces, while the northeastern regions of Gangwon-do province can expect on and off showers into tomorrow. And now going over to our readings, Seoul will top out at 28 this afternoon. Meanwhile, the southern cities such as Gwangju and Busan is tad lower at 27 and 26 degrees. Now moving over to other regions, Jeju Island will get up similar at 26, while Dokdo reaches 23, while Mangkeugang is tad hotter at 26. Well, that's all for now. I'm Michelle Park, and back to you.
All right, thank you, Michelle, for that. That brings you to the end of our newscast. Thank you for watching. I'll be back for our next newscast at 4 p.m. Korea time.